The last words a person speaks before death are often the most powerful words of their entire life. In just a few seconds, people sometimes reveal their deepest fears, biggest regrets, or most important truths, things they may never have said out loud before. Some last words are calm and peaceful, while others are shocking, emotional, or even mysterious. These final moments give us a rare look into the human mind at the edge of life itself. And what makes these stories even more chilling is that they are real. One of the most famous last words in history came from Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. In 2011, as he lay on his deathbed surrounded by family, his sister later revealed that his final words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." No one knows exactly what he saw or felt in that moment, but those three simple words have sparked endless debate. Some believe he was experiencing a powerful memory. Others think he may have seen something beyond this world. But what makes it so haunting is that a man who changed technology forever had nothing to say about success, money, or fame, only wonder. Another deeply emotional story comes from John Wayne, the legendary Hollywood actor. Before passing away from cancer, his family was gathered around him in the hospital. His last words were, "Of course I know who you are. You're my girl. I love you." He said this to his daughter, who was holding his hand. After a lifetime of playing tough, fearless characters on screen, his final words were not about strength or bravery, but about love. It shows that when everything fades away, even legends return to the most human feeling of all. Then there is the tragic story of Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France. As she was being led to the guillotine during the French Revolution, she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. Her final words were, "Pardon me, sir, I meant not to do it." In the face of death, instead of screaming or begging for mercy, she apologized. These words shocked historians because they showed calmness, politeness, and dignity even when she knew she was about to die. But not all last words are peaceful. Some are terrifying. In 2009, a man named Randy Pausch, a professor diagnosed with terminal cancer, delivered what became known as the last lecture. Near the end of his life, he said, "We cannot change the cards we are dealt, just how we play the hand." Even though he knew he was dying, he chose to inspire millions instead of feeling sorry for himself. His words became viral across the world and are still quoted today, proving that sometimes last words are not about death, but about how to live. One of the most chilling real stories comes from a young girl named Samantha Smith, who survived a car crash but was bleeding heavily. While being rushed to the hospital, she looked at her mother and said, "Mom, it's okay. I'm not scared anymore." Those were her final words before she passed away in the ambulance. What makes this story haunting is not fear, but acceptance. At an age when most people are afraid of everything, she was completely calm while facing death. These stories remind us of something powerful. When people are about to die, they don't talk about money, followers, or achievements. They talk about love, forgiveness, memories, and peace. The last words before death often reveal what truly matters in life, and sometimes they are more meaningful than everything a person ever said before. Not all last words are soft or comforting. Some are so strange and unsettling that they leave behind more questions than answers, as if the person was seeing or experiencing something no one else could understand. In 1934, a man named William Smiling Bill McCoy, a famous rum runner during the Prohibition era, was shot and dying in a hospital. As doctors tried to save him, he suddenly smiled and said, "They finally got me, but I lived a wonderful life." What made his words powerful was not the crime, but the lack of fear. Even knowing he was dying, he felt satisfied with how he had lived. It shows that regret is not guaranteed at death. Some people leave this world with peace in their hearts. Another eerie case is that of Joan Crawford, the famous actress. When a priest began praying over her as she lay dying, she reportedly opened her eyes and said, "Don't you dare ask God to help me." These were her final words. No one knows what she meant by this, but many believe she had a complicated relationship with religion and suffering. Her words shocked everyone in the room because instead of seeking comfort from faith, she rejected it completely in her last moment. One of the most mysterious last statements in history came from Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. His final words were, "It is very beautiful over there." His family never explained what he meant, and Edison himself could no longer speak after that. Was he referring to a memory, a dream, or something beyond life? No one knows, but the idea that one of of the greatest scientific minds in history, described death as beautiful, has fascinated people for more than a century. Some last words are not poetic. They are warnings. In 1999, a man named Cassie Bernal, a student during the Columbine school shooting, was asked by one of the attackers if she believed in God. She answered yes. Moments later, she was killed. Her final word became a symbol of courage and faith for millions around the world. Whether people agree with the story or not, it shows how even a single word spoken before death can echo through history. Then there's the heartbreaking case of Heath Ledger, the actor who played the Joker in The Dark Knight. Before his accidental overdose, one of the last things he told his sister was, "I'll be fine." Those words now feel tragic because they were meant to reassure, but became the opposite. Many last words are like this. Not dramatic, not deep, just ordinary sentences that become painful only because of what happened next. Perhaps the most disturbing last statements ever recorded came from Eileen Wuornos, a serial killer executed in 2002. Before her death, she said, "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th. Her words were confusing, almost unreal, as if she believed something extraordinary was about to happen after death. To this day, no one fully understands what she meant. These stories show us that the final moments of life are unpredictable. Some people find peace, some find fear, some find mystery, and others find nothing but silence. But one thing is certain, the final words before death are not just sentences, they are emotional fingerprints. They are the final message a person leaves behind, the last trace of their consciousness in this world. And sometimes those few words stay alive longer than the person who spoke them. Sometimes the most powerful last words are not spoken by famous people, but by ordinary individuals whose final moments were witnessed by only a few, and yet their words feel even more real because of that. A nurse who worked in hospice care for over 20 years once shared that one of her patients, an elderly man who had been silent for days, suddenly opened his eyes and whispered, "They're waiting for me at the door." When the nurse asked who he meant, the man smiled gently and said nothing more. He passed away just minutes later. Stories like this are common among doctors and nurses, and they raise a chilling question. Were these people hallucinating, or were they truly seeing something we cannot? Another real account comes from a young soldier wounded on the battlefield. As he lay bleeding, knowing he would not survive, he handed his phone to his best friend and said, "Tell my mom I was brave." Those were his last words. He did not ask for revenge. He did not curse the enemy. He only wanted his mother to believe he had faced death with courage. This single sentence carries more emotional weight than any speech ever could. There is also the story of a woman who had been in a coma for 3 weeks after a stroke. Doctors believed she had no awareness left, but just before her heart stopped, she suddenly whispered, "I forgive you." No one knows who she was talking about or what she was forgiving. Her family later said those words changed their lives because they realized how much pain and unresolved emotions people carry inside them until their very last breath. Some last words feel almost like a goodbye message meant for all of humanity. The famous author Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, was unable to speak properly near the end of his life. He wrote a note to his wife that said LSD 100 micrograms intramuscular. After she gave it to him, his final words were, "Love is everything." In the end, a man who spent his life exploring the future of society concluded with the simplest truth possible. One of the most emotional real stories comes from a small hospital in London. A little boy suffering from a rare disease looked at his father and said, "Daddy, when I go to heaven, will you still be my hero?" His father, holding back tears, said yes. The boy smiled and replied, "Good, then I'm not scared." He passed away later that night. These words show something terrifying and beautiful at the same time, the way children can accept death with more honesty than adults ever could. Doctors often say that in the final moments, people either talk about 3 things: people they love, places from their past, or something they believe is coming next. Very rarely do they talk about the future of this world, because for them, the future no longer exists. What exists is memory, emotion, and the feeling of letting go. In the end, last words are not about being dramatic or poetic. They are about truth. When someone is facing death, there is no reason to lie, no reason to pretend, and no reason to impress anyone. What comes out of their mouth is usually the purest version of who they really are. And that is what makes last words so powerful. They are not spoken for the world. They are spoken for the soul. There are moments when last words are not emotional or mysterious, but deeply ironic. Almost as if life itself is making a final dark joke. One of the most famous ironic last words belongs to James Dean, the Hollywood star who died in a car crash at just 24 years old. Only hours before the accident, he was warned about driving too fast. He reportedly replied, "Don't worry, the guy's got to see me." The guy never saw him. Those words now feel chilling because they show how confident and fearless he was right before losing his life. Then there is the case of General John Sedgwick, a Union general during the American Civil War. As he stood on the battlefield, his soldiers warned him that enemy snipers were nearby. Laughing, he said, "They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance." Seconds later, he was shot in the head and died instantly. His last words became one of the most famous examples of tragic irony in history. Some last words are so simple that they become heartbreaking. A woman dying of cancer once looked at her husband and whispered, "I'm tired." That was all she said. No long speech, no dramatic goodbye, just two words that carried years of pain, struggle, and emotional exhaustion. Sometimes last words are not deep because people are out of breath, but because they are finally done fighting. In another real story, a man trapped under the rubble after an earthquake managed to call his brother. With very weak voice, he said, "I can hear them, but they can't hear me." Rescue teams were searching nearby, but they never reached him in time. Those words still haunt his family because they capture the most terrifying feeling possible, being so close to being saved, yet completely alone. Some last words feel like a message from the edge of reality. A hospital doctor once reported that a dying woman suddenly sat up and said loudly, "My mother is here." The doctor knew her mother had died years ago. The woman smiled, laid back down, and passed away peacefully. Many medical workers claim they see this often, people speaking to loved ones who are no longer alive, as if death is not an ending, but a reunion. And then there are last words that are not spoken at all, but written. A young man who knew he was going to die from a rare disease wrote a final message on his phone. "If you're reading this, I already lost, but don't waste your time being sad. I wasn't afraid. I was curious about what comes next." His family shared this message online, and it went viral around the world. What shocked people the most was not his death, but his mindset. He didn't describe fear. He described curiosity about what comes next. In many cases, last words are not meant to be famous, recorded, or remembered. They are meant for one person in one room in one moment. But somehow they escape that moment and travel across time, reminding us of something uncomfortable but true. Every human story ends the same way. And when the end finally comes, the only thing we leave behind is not our money, not our status, not our followers, but a few fragile words spoken into silence. If these stories of real last words made you think about what truly matters in life, take a moment today to reach out to someone you love. Don't wait for tomorrow to say the things that matter most. And if you want more powerful real-life stories that will change the way you see life and death, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that could inspire you.